This is Tiger Cats postgame on the Ticats Audio Network.
Welcome to the postgame show. Bubba O'Neil, Andy Fantuz. Andy, I won't waste any time. At the end of the first half, when you and I talked and summarized what we saw for the first half, I said to you, we've been here before. And I was actually being a little sarcastic with a 19-9 lead.
Yeah, you know what? You're right, though. But we did point out that if it wasn't for some careless penalties and mistakes by Edmonton, it would have been a much closer game in the first half. And it continued that way through the second half, kind of a battle back and forth. Hamilton did have a 10-point lead late in the third, but Edmonton just was able to claw back. And just the glaring number is the turnovers, 4-1. 4-1, 4 turnovers for Hamilton. It's just not going to get the job done when you're doing that.
Outscored 20-6 in the second half. Big difference, and that leads to the big 29-25 victory for the Edmonton Elks, who are now 1-3. The Hamilton Tiger Cats are 0-4 going into the bye week with a whole lot to think about.
Yeah, even when Edmonton was making their run, it seemed like Hamilton was still in control, and then that run by Dane and the fumble return for a touchdown, it seems like once a game that's something like that's happening, and that needs to get cleaned up right away. He'll be the first one to tell us, and it's just shocking. I mean, the whole stadium is in shock here, and it's just one of those not again moments. And they showed some grit and drove all the way down the field at the end there, but just couldn't quite punch it in.
Dane Evans, 20 out of 31 for 197 yard. Threw the one touchdown pass to Dunbar Jr. in the first quarter. Kind of shut down from that point on. 2 interceptions thrown, the fumble, as you talked about, return for the touchdown. Trey Ford in his debut, 15 out of 26, 159 yards passing. Throws a touchdown, was intercepted once near the end of the first half on a beautiful interception by Cameron Kelly. Obviously there's going to be the blame game that goes on here. And I thought to pat the Tiger Cats on the back at the end of the first half, as I discussed with you, I thought we were getting contributions from all 3 aspects in offense, defense, and special teams. I just don't know how. I mean, obviously they're going to look at the tape and try and figure out what went wrong here. I guess you give credit to all 3 aspects, and you got to really take a look at all 3 aspects in the second half.
Yeah, at this point you got to dive into all aspects of your football team. But you mentioned Trey Ford and his numbers. You got to give this young man some credit. I mean, he came in as a first start as a rookie, and what I liked about what he was doing is he was poised. He was kind of standing in the pocket, going through his reads, and sure, he was able to run, and I think he had 61 yards rushing, so he was able to escape the pocket, but he wasn't looking 1 read, 2 reads done. He was kind of going through his reads. He showed a lot of poise, a lot of grit after that early interception, or the first half interception, like you mentioned. Really cleaned it up, and only 159 yards, but just the poise I saw out of a kid in his first game, only 1 sack against. Got to give the kid some credit.
And one of the highlights I thought really for the Tiger Cats, I think something that they could hang their heads on is that there was a more balanced attack in this football game with rushing the football. You're talking about a patchwork offensive line with one guy that just came in here, had a couple of practices. They ran the ball for well over 100 yards today. I thought Wes Hills, 8 carries, 40 yards. A lot of that grinding type, but they were working on that time of possession as well, too. I think those are the things that lead you to victory, or should lead you to victory.
Yeah, for me it was tough to put my finger on it, because it was kind of a mismatched type of attack. Because if you look at the rushing, and Wes had 8 rushes, but Dane also had 8 rushes. So some of that might have been scripted, but could have been also just broken plays. Matt Schultz had 3 rushes, Son Thomas Erlington had 3, and then Poppy White with 1 end around. So not a total commitment to the run, I would say. There were some effective spurts, but I wouldn't, it's one of my 3 keys, and it's not really going to be what I was hoping for out of this game. I was hoping to really commit to it, but I guess you got to string some first downs together and have some success in order to stick with the run. We've discussed this before in previous games that maybe there's times where you need to use the extension of the run. You need to use those quick throws and those RPOs, those run pass options, in order to keep the drives going, and so you can just have more plays in general. But 8 carries for your leading back, and 3 for your secondary back, so 11 rushes. Not exactly a total commitment in my eyes.
Folks, we'll be talking to Coach O, and he'll have his opinions and offer his thoughts on what happened here after 60 minutes of football. We'll have an interview with a player which will be coming up in a couple of minutes as well, too. We'll have our performer of the game. Is presented by Hercules Tire. It's Ride Our Strength. And we'll cap things off with a little post-game roundtable. Luke Tasker and Courtney Stevens will join us on the broadcast here. But before we get to anything, let's review your 3 CarStar keys to victory.
Okay, let's do it. Yeah, number 1 was run down hills, and again, like over 100 yards rushing, so not a terrible output, but still not that commitment I was hoping for, not that pounding that sort of wore down the defense. I was hoping to see in the fourth quarter just those gash plays, those 7, 15, 12, 7, like just all the way down the field, even against the wind, with that rushing. So,
and they demoralize the defense too, don't they?
They do. I mean, you see a team like you look at the juggernaut of like Winnipeg last year, for instance. Like and even Hamilton the year before that. It was you get in the fourth quarter and you just wear these defenses down, even though they've playing well for 3 quarters, and that's what I was hoping to see tonight. So not quite a check mark in my books there.
Number 2.
Number 2 was confuse and contain Trey Ford. They were doing a pretty good job of it early in the game, I thought. They were able to get a couple big hits on him, wrap him up for a big sack. Dylan Wynn. Sort of not a lot of completions in the first half, not a lot of offense. However, I think he responded well at halftime and made adjustments. The Ticats only finished with 1 sack. Trey Ford still had 61 yards rushing, only 6 attempts, but was able to kind of distribute the ball enough to get the job done. So this is another one that I'm not going to give them the check mark on.
Number 3, and it's all important.
And number 3, win the turnover battle, was a big fail. 4 turnovers for and only 1 against. We we talked about getting a score from defense special teams. We got that.
Yep.
But we did not get that. The turnover at the end of the first half probably saved 3 points, possibly 6 or 7. But just hoping, I guess, for a much different kind of a flip of that 4-1 for the home team, and it didn't end up like that. So 3 X's on the keys to the game today.
Let's have a look at your performer of the game as presented by Hercules Tire. Ride Our Strength.
Yeah, this was a tough one for me. I mean, there was some pretty decent individual efforts across the board. A few at receiver. We were considering the offensive line in general with the rushing attack and just being how new they were, the job they did. But we're just going to go with the big play of the game and give it to Lawrence Woods for the big 72-yard kickoff return. He had spurts of electricity even beyond that play, but that was a massive play in the game, and so we're going to give it to him this game.
Yeah, and you're right. He had some sort of situations where, not putting aside the kickoff return for a touchdown, where he set his team up with positive field position many times just on the edge of, if not midfield, near the 45, 46-yard lines. You're certainly not in the back of your end zone. So, again, you talk about the field position, and you're just wondering why the team, and I know there was a wind aspect here, the Ticats offense can't take advantage of this great field position that they're getting.
Yeah, it was such a strange game that way. Teams were taking safeties when they were against the wind. I understand that. I'm not a big fan of that by any means, but you get it. But as far as flipping the field and completely being dominated with or without the win, it wasn't necessarily the case. The Cats seemed to drive against the wind almost better than they did with the wind, and so it didn't really play that big of a factor. A couple nice punts. Both teams punted the ball excellent, actually. So just a pretty, I don't know, average game, but just I don't know. Yeah, just one of those weird ones. It's just, we're sitting here in fourth game, and somber post games, just somber, and it's almost speechless. It's tough. It's tough, but team's going to respond. It's early. They got a bye week to think about it and make some corrections and come back with a new attitude.
Let's take a look at the scoring in this game here. Hamilton go up 2-0 as Edmonton concede a safety. 9-0 on them completing a 9-play, 63-yard drive. Evans to Dunbar Jr. with the 21-yard payoff. It's 9-0. Edmonton respond on a 13-play, 79-yard drive. Good work there by Trey Ford. It's Loxley, the backup quarterback, sometimes slot back with a 1-yard run on a third down play. 9-6 then. Talked about the explosive play. 16-6. It is Lawrence Woods, the third, going 72 yards. Hamilton looked good. And then Hamilton gave up a single to make it 16-7. Don McGowan nails one from 25 yards to make it 19-7. Again, things looking good. Halftime, Hamilton concedes that safety, 19-9, and I think we're all thinking about there's no way that what the end result would be happened again. Third quarter, Don McGowan with a 33-yard field goal to make it 22-9. Castillo responds from 38 to make it 22-12. And there's where the game starts to make a change. Dane Evans intercepted. They capitalized with a 32-yard Castillo field goal to make it 22-15. Lawler, the 10-yard touchdown pass, Trey Ford's first of his career. 5 plays, 38 yards, courtesy of the turnover which was an interception by Dane Evans. Back-to-back drives. Don McGowan gives the team back the lead for 25-22, and then the Evans costly fumble, which turns into the 14-yard fumble return for Jalen Collins, and that is your final score, 29-25. Let's bring in the coach. Of course, we do have exclusive access to the coaching room. Time to bring in Coach O, as presented by Access Storage. And, Coach, I know you're talking about finishing, and I guess through 4 games, it's some lessons have to be learned going into our bye week.
Yep. Right now, we're not very good. And, you can point to a myriad of things, but bottom line is we didn't get it done tonight.
Coach, the turnovers are obviously a glaring problem, and but seem to be a bit different, coming in different ways each game. Is there some technique or some extra work that can be done as far as the fumbles are concerned?
Yeah, well, we got to catch the ball, right? It's hard enough when you are playing things close to the vest and trying to win football games. Yeah, to think that we don't address those things in practice and those type of things, it definitely is addressed. At the end of the day, it's got to be executed, on game day. Sometimes, sometimes you experience things for the first time, and this will be a first for me. And there's one way to get this thing done, and that's to grind. And we'll take a long, deep dive at thing, and we'll come back after the bye, and we'll be better.
Coach, what's your message to the team as they're about to leave the facilities for a week?
Yeah, take care of their body. Yeah, the things that we talk about in-house, we'll keep it in-house. They know it's the game was what it was, and disappointing, frustrating. You can throw in whatever adjective you want in there, but I just told them to take care of their bodies, travel safe. They're human beings first. That we're just not getting it done. We would be better coming out of the bye.
Coach, I guess everyone needs a little break at this point. Now, thank you for joining us today. I know it's another tough one, and you'll come back even stronger in Week 5 hosting those Ottawa Red Blacks. So we look forward to talking to you then. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, thank you guys. Have a great one.
Coach O just kind of breaks it down. You can't hide the disappointment, Courtney. As we said, bring in and have our post-game roundtable. Luke Tasker and Courtney Stephen joining us here. Andy Fantuz, Bubba O'Neil on the post-game show. Courtney, I'll throw this to you here. It's been a long time since this team's been 0-4, and you certainly heard the disappointment in Coach O's, just in his voice and his demeanor there. I think it's a time where everyone's going to kind of look at each other, I guess.
Absolutely. And when you're a pro, you show up every day. This is your job. This is how you pay for the bills. This is how you put food on the table for your family. So I don't think it's a lack of effort. That's never going to be in question. But the execution at some point has to catch up with the preparation. And knowing the character of this team and being a part of this team in the past, I know what they put in and week out. So the disappointment is more a function of, that preparation not paying off.
Let me throw this to both you guys, former wide receivers here with this Ticats team. And sometimes turnovers and interceptions happens for different reasons. We always just say bad throw. From what you guys saw there, the 3 turnovers, and we'll focus on the 2 interceptions because that's what the game started to change. Are these things that we're seeing errors out of the receiving core? Are they running wrong routes? Is Dane forcing the football, Luke?
I think at times he is. In fact, I think you saw it down in the score zone at the end of the game that did not result in a turnover. Here and there, I think you see throws that he's going to want back. But, as a wide receiver, when we're going back to our room after a ball hit our hands, I remember them still now, the ones that got away from me that hit my hands and went in a bad direction. And it's happened an alarming amount of times this year. It comes down to, especially going into a bye week. I remember you just double down. Like Coach said, he said the way out of it is to grind. Well, get on the jugs machine, catch 100 balls a day. Why not? And I love how Courtney put it that the execution has to catch up to the preparation. Because it's that any given Sunday, it's the inches are everywhere around us. It's such slight edges and little wins, and if that doesn't bounce off Early's hands, and if Dane can just put his left hand on top of his right hand and not fumble that ball, who knows? It could have been a win by 2 scores tonight.
Yeah, I agree. Anytime it goes off the player, the receiver, his hands, his shoulder, like you said, it's happened at least 4 times this year now. And those 50-50 balls, like we saw in week 1, as a receiver, those are on you, in my opinion. There are certain throws. Against Calgary, the first interception, that was a bad decision. There's been a mix, and there's a lot that goes into it. There's bullets flying. There's huge offensive, defensive line running at you. Defensive line running at you full speed. The huge offensive line in the way. You don't know what the lines of sight are, both for the quarterback and the receiver. There's lights. There's this and that. But this isn't a game of excuses. This is just a game of results. But as a receiver, it's not too quick that you're going to just blame your quarterback, and I don't think that'd be too often this year so far. But certainly a few that I would put on the receivers.
I would say too that I'm not so much concerned about the interceptions as far as Dane, honestly, as the fumbles. That's gotten now to a number that's pretty alarming. I think it's 5 fumbles on the season right now, 4 games in, and so. That alone, apart from the decisions in the pocket, because he's also made a number of really great decisions, and there was a couple times tonight with some really productive pass game, but you just cannot play well enough to overcome that stat line.
Yeah, 2 return for fumbles and key points in the game with the double-digit leads being blown. What are your thoughts, Court?
Well, it's one thing to turn the ball over, and that's absolutely a recipe for disaster, but when the defense doesn't get an opportunity to defend the goal line, you're going to be in rough shape. And so when the turnover happens and the opponent scores in 3 out of the last 4 games, you're not going to have a winning record.
3 defensive touchdowns this season.
Yeah, it's crazy, because you're on offense, you get a couple first downs, you're driving the ball, or no matter where it happens on the field, actually. It doesn't matter if it's the first play, but they score, and then you're right back out there again. It's like, okay, now we got to go all the way down the field to score just to even that mistake up, and then do it again to actually, have some progress. It's demoralizing.
So how about this one? Turnovers are we're not going to be able to stop talking about this. Like, we have to. Every podcast, you're going to hear the word turnover 15 times, unfortunately. Still tune in. Good content on the Ticats Network. But be ready to hear more about turnover. But how about this storyline, too? Ticats in the first half of their 4 games in 2022, they've outscored their opponents 55-32. And they're 0-4. I mean, it's mind-blowing. They have not won a third quarter, have not won a fourth quarter.
Well, I think they're leaving the games to be way too close. Because if you look at it on paper, the yards they're putting up, the players that they have, and the individual matchups, it doesn't make sense for these games to be neck and neck all the way through the fourth quarter. And when you leave teams around hanging in there with hope and with energy and with a glimmer of we can do this is the kind of thing that's going to happen. So they have to get the killer instinct coming out of halftime to put the foot on the throat and to continue the momentum from those early touchdowns, bring that into the second half and start finishing.
Well, here's your first half. I mean, there were, everyone's talking about the Ticats don't run the ball enough. They don't run the ball enough. Tonight they ran the ball for over 100 yards. There was the touchdown drive, the 9-play, 63-yard drive, which ended in a touchdown pass from Evans to Dunbar Jr. They ran the ball 6 straight times. I don't know the last time I've seen the Tiger Cats do that.
Yeah,
and it was successful.
Not any time recently. You're right. They had a little bit there. You're absolutely right, Bubba. And in the first games, they were averaging less than 4 yards a carry, and a lot of it was worse than that. You get your explosives or your, bigger drives mixed into that average, and that was one of the bright spots I thought tonight.
Let's bring in our performer of the game, as presented by Hercules Tires. Ride our strength. Mr. Lawrence Woods, congratulations on that touchdown. That was an exciting play. I know you're probably upset about the loss. I mean, because you look at a team aspect, but congratulations. A good game for yourself.
Oh, yeah, appreciate that so much.
Hey, Lawrence, you got to be happy with the job the special teams group has done as a whole so far this season. And, Coach Craig Butler in his first year as special teams coordinator. Can you talk a little bit about the leadership he brings and what you've learned from him and the vets around you?
Yeah, definitely. So, without the team, without, the whole special team unit, none of the stuff that I do would be possible, you know what I'm saying, with starting with the left end all the way to the right end on kickoff and kickoff return. And I feel like the things that I've learned from Coach Butler, even though he's young, he's very persistent and in detail of what he wants, Because coming from the U.S., it's like the halo is a little different. We don't have to do the halo. So me trying to work around with the halo with my speed, it's just like he really coached me up a lot and told me some things that really helped me out.
Lawrence, you got the back-to-back return options, which is sort of a rarity. Were you a little bit alert to that, knowing that the coverage team might be a little bit gassed after having just run down the field? Were you ready for a explosive play there?
Oh yeah, I'm always ready. That ain't even a question. When they call number 37 he's ready.
Hey, Lawrence, heading into the bye week here, obviously there's going to be a lot of people soul searching. It's a team game, but what are you thinking about heading into this bye week? What's your approach going to be?
So my approach really just to stay with it, you know what I'm saying? So I don't, not necessarily get out of shape, but just so I don't fall off in between the little week that we have. Still train, maybe even do a little bit more sprints and stuff just so I can get my wind up a little bit better. But really, I think as a team, we're trying to hook up a little bit, and settle some things on the field just to get some more camaraderie and stuff like that, meet at each other's houses and stuff.
Lawrence, one of the things that's been fun to watch about your season is we see you in the return game, of course. That's your thing, great speed. You've got great field position for the team the whole season, but you've also made a few tackles, and you've been covering down. You've been kind of adding into the special teams efforts across the board. Do you take pride in being able to play on both sides of the kicking game?
Oh, yeah, I definitely take pride in that, man. I love it. I want to play all sides of the ball if I could, Like it's just fun, you know. It's just fun actually getting out there to play football again, being off for a little, like 6 months or whatever. It's just fun to actually get on the field and run again.
Well, Lawrence, I think everybody in the stadium could use a bit of your energy and charisma right now. But really appreciate your time. Congrats on the big play, and have a great week off.
Oh yeah, appreciate it, man. And it ain't possible without my team, man. I just like to give it up to my boys, get them their flowers now.
That's Lawrence Woods, really excited performer of the game as presented by Hercules Tire. Ride our strength. And Andy, you're right there. If everyone could have that kind of attitude, and I know he's probably hurting for the defeat, but also you've got to look at your game, and as we say, looking at each other and what can I do to help my team win, and he's certainly doing his part.
Yeah, that's a big play for a rookie in this league, and anytime you game breaker like that, you don't see a lot of kick return for touchdowns in this league at all. I mean, you see some punt returns and field goal misses, but kick returns really tough. You know, isn't that like the $1 million thing from Safeway or Save on Foods or something?
Safeway.
I know where you're shopping. I know. This is the audio network, so I gotta keep it real here. But it is. It's like if two will get returned for a touchdown. I mean, like if they're willing to put that kind of dough on it, it's pretty rare. So good for him. Good for him. And what do you got, Corey?
I think it's going to take a lot more of that because we used to have this phrase, we got to outplay the other team's defense. And so regardless of what happens on the offensive side of the ball, being one of those people who get paid to tackle for a living and break up plays as they're drawn up, I think the defense is probably looking at themselves like, okay, we played good and we can say we played well and whatnot, and we had our moments of shining. But if the other team's going to score on D, then we have to score on D. Right, and the defense makes up most of the special teams as well, just by the nature of the beast. So those two phases of the game are going to have to pick up the slack to help this team get some momentum. They're doing a good job. They're gonna need to elevate it.
Let me throw this to all three of you guys here because I know I'm going to hear it on my socials and people emailing me at the station, and there's going to be a certain amount of criticism about this team because I don't think anyone thought that the Hamilton Tiger Cats would be 0-4 to start the season. And that the power rankings are going to come out, and who knows, they might be the last place team in the power rankings as well too. How do you prevent a team from falling apart within each other? Luke, I'll start with you, and believing that we're a good football team, we've just got to do a couple things here.
Yeah, I think that it starts from the top down, and I don't think Coach O is a guy who gets doubted by the people in the intimate core of a team. He's just not that. He's just not that kind of guy. He's authentic, and he's gonna be very straightforward and very real with his guys. And so I don't think you're gonna see a disgruntled, fissure starting from the top. In position groups and as it trickles down the team and as things continue to go wrong, issues and conflicts will come up. But you know what? To me, Bubba, I think you take a page out of the honorary Ticat tonight, Dave Stallo's book, and that is, do not let football not be fun for you. And if you can go out there at practice, if you can kind of force that smile on your face until it becomes authentic, because I'll tell you what, if I could smile when I took the field, I was the best Luke Tasker that I was going to be out there. And if I was not able to do that, then the mistakes would compound. You gotta give it your all, but enjoy that process of trying to become great with your teammates.
Hamilton Tiger Cats 29. Or change that. We wish it was 29-25. Edmonton Elks win their first game of the season. 29-25 is the final score here at Tim Hortons Field. Guys, thanks for joining us. This is the Tiger Cats post-game show. Bubba O'Neil, Andy Fantuz, of course. We will be with you to set up the pregame show when the Ottawa Red Blacks come into town. And that's 2 weeks from now. For Luke Tasker, and of course, RJ Broadhead, Andy Fantuz, Courtney Stevens, and of course, all the fans here. We thank you for listening to us here on the Ticats Audio Network, and we'll talk to you in a couple of weeks.